our second session in TTO, Teachers Teaching Online Today. Tell us who you are, tell us where you're from. We've got Romania here, Vietnam and Poland here. We've got Portugal, Brazil, Catalonia, Ukraine, Russia, China, Greece. India is here. Iraq is here. Ecuador is here. And beautiful to see so many teachers here. I am someone who absolutely will benefit from this session as a teacher, and I'm sure you will as well. Because who does not use Google? And we have with us the top-rated Google Apps trainer in the world, Rich Kiker.
I'm going to start to talk a little bit here about Google Drive, right? Not just Google Drive, but Google EDU all together. And then I'm going to do some screen sharing and show you guys some pieces here. And then hopefully we can still do some Q&A. The first page here is just an introduction. It has some information about me. It has some ways that you can find content. And I've included some resources here. The Google EDU dashboard is a whole collection of Google tools. I'll actually bring that up and show it to you in a screen share here. So this screen here is a really nice tool. It's a place where I kind of curate and pull all of the Google EDU solutions together. It's that link on the first slide. And when you're looking at it here, you'll see all of these solutions that I'm pointing at come from the Google ecosystem. They come from the Google EDU team, other Google product lines, and all of these tools are great collaborative entities, and they're great ways to use the entire ecosystem from Google EDU. So I want to make sure you have this, and you can explore this as well. It's a new way that collaboration is happening, right? This is the meeting has gone Google, and when you think about this, I shared a stat for America at least here that coming in 2020. It's expected that 40% of all Americans are going to be freelancers. And freelancing, you need to have these range of flexible competencies, right? Yes, I see a question there, is Google Hangouts like Skype? It is similar to Skype, but a Google product. And the Google Hangouts allow you to interact on documents and bring in third-party apps and run them together and operate together in this space. Wonderful collaborative platform. And I start to mention this idea of flexible competencies. I believe strongly that if we're giving anybody in the K-20 space skills around collaboration, it has to be flexible skills. We have to give them the ability to not only do this fixed operation, in other words, using a Google Hangout or using a Google or Skype or some other video conferencing software like the WizIQ platform here, but you need to be able to use something to deliver a message and do it well. And that, to me, is also part of this idea of new literacy and what I try to frame the Google conversation around. Here's what I sometimes call, on-demand content. I think it's so often overlooked how we can create these media-rich, on-demand learning centers with something as simple as YouTube, right? Looking at this screen, this is just my subscriptions on YouTube and my own playlist that I built. I have about 100 subscriptions on YouTube, all academic content. You can see some of them listed there on this slide. And what's important about this is that we have on-demand video. We can go on to TV stations or on the web and look up Netflix and all these other services that are providing video content. But we overlook the fact that we can create our own on-demand video service in the Google ecosystem with YouTube just by simply creating these subscriptions. It gives you content. It gives you these media-rich hooks. It gives you the ability to, at your fingertips, at your desktop when you come in the morning or on your iPad or whatever it is that you're doing, see the latest videos that have been published by your subscription. But one of my favorite practices is to forget content area and just use the world as a content delivery tool, right? So looking at YouTube, going into a classroom, being in a virtual classroom, and saying, hey, everyone take a look at this video. How does this drive our conversation? What does this say about readiness in 2014? What does this say about what we're trying to create and do for all learners? So I really enjoy the idea of sharing that YouTube subscriptions and creating your own on-demand learning service is powerful and then also shareable, of course, which is also part of the Google mantra and what we're trying to create with the Google EDU ecosystem. So here's this idea of like 20% time and the SAMR model. So when we're talking about this online literacy and Google tools and where we're heading, I think it's important to look at 20% time, which is an inquiry model, and whether it's face-to-face, blended, or fully online, making sure there's a component where students had the ability, or learners had the ability, to scale their own inquiry and discovery learning. What is it about this biology classroom that energizes you, that you want to learn more about? What do you want to dive deep in? And then tying that to technology tools like here in the SAMR model. Sometimes when looking at the model, we look at the bottom or below that dotted line. Yep, Bloom taxonomy, pretty similar idea too. You can use any of these versions or these models for your practice. But the enhancement or below the line, this idea of substitution and augmentation, we're just replacing some tools. Valuable, but thinking more globally above that line into the transformation stage of modification and redefinition. Those tools there are the idea for me of where we can get with the technology and some of the Google solutions. 20% time is the philosophy at Google where, you know, certain departments, certain teams have 20% of their time to just create anything awesome. Figure out what it is that we're doing at Google. You know the Google mission. Go make something great. Off task, on task, doesn't matter. I believe things like, Jason, thanks for sharing that Bloom taxonomy there. I believe things like the Gmail and some other big product lines have come out of that process. So we know throughout history when great collaborators come together, great ideas come together, whether it's the coffee houses of London, ancient Greece, or Silicon Valley today, right? We know that great things come out of that collaborative space. So looking at this and what I'm going to show you here, think about that inquiry, even including it in the e-learning space. How can you provide learners an opportunity to define their own product, to define what proficiency or mastery looks like in a certain area? Controlled, tailored, however it is that you want to define it, but letting them have a version of autonomy, right? I included a quote from Daniel Pink at the bottom of this that says, control leads to compliance, autonomy leads to engagement. And I think one of our biggest challenges in the online space is making sure the engagement is equal, at least equal, if not better than engagement we would get into or get in the face-to-face classroom. So, talking about this idea of literacy and the e-learning space, like, so how we promote literacy, how we promote ways to construct reading in the online space. This may be more tailored to K-12 and higher ed, but the skills and the techniques certainly transfer. I want to show you something, especially for this classroom. I'm really thrilled that I'm seeing people from, when they're doing their introduction, from all over the world in this conversation right now. One thing I try to drive home, especially at the high school level and even in my graduate courses that I'll lead, is the idea that we don't have to be locked to one publisher anymore. If I want to know more about the World Cup and the problems that Brazil is facing as a result of hosting the World Cup, at least culturally and in their society right now, I can take it from the New York Times or the Philadelphia Inquirer here on the U.S. side. But I can do some other things too. So let me go ahead and screen share again. And I want to talk to you a minute about some of what we can do inside Google Chrome browser and with the Chrome Web Store and what that looks like. So I'm going to screen share here with you. And I'm going to take you into my Chrome browser. If I go to news.google.com, you can see obviously I'm in English here. But let's say I want to find something on, let's say here's the World Cup. So I choose the World Cup, Chile versus the Netherlands live blog, U.S. player. Let me pull one of these up. And when I do that in Google Chrome, I have some really great features here. If I'm talking about the K-12 area and I'm having students read an article, maybe I'm looking at the text and I teach my students that if you get lost anywhere and you don't know what a word means, the promise of Web 2.0 is that we bring literacy to us. And even in an online space, we bring the literacy to us. So looking at this, maybe I'm not sure exactly what the word clinching means. Well, from the Chrome Web Store, I can install Google Dictionary. And then my browser becomes an interactive dictionary. So all I have to do is double-click on clinching, and you'll see a pop-up come up that says clinch, confirm or settle. And you may be able to hear this, but I get an audio pronunciation as well. Clinch. So if I'm using my device as or my classroom, my online classroom, let's say, as a English language learner space, if I'm using it as a cultural institution, if I'm using it to teach these systems of literacy, this is one way I can do it using Chrome and the Chrome web browser. Another real cool tool is if you want to read this but you didn't speak or you can't read in English, perhaps I can come to my Google Translate tool right here. And when I choose Google Translate, you'll see my translate bar come down right at the top, and I'm instantly given the option to take this article from English and move it to any of these other conversations. So my example earlier, I don't have to read what the New York Times is saying about Brazil. I can go to Rio or Brasilia's major newspapers and convert them from Portuguese or Spanish or whatever language they're in directly to English. The same way I can take this English document and convert it to, let's say, I don't know, Italian. And when I choose that, I hit translate, and in a couple seconds, my article is translated to Italian, and I'm live and running. So this is great. I really want to drive this home, this idea of global competency and how we can empower learners to be kind of, analysts and decoders of what the web is telling. They can go to the source. The primary source articles are probably better in this space, and you can actually pull from different streams. So one other thing here is if I turn off this Google Translate, it goes back to English for me. I want to show you one other really cool extension. When you look at the article online like this one, I'm seeing some, oh look, WizIQ is right here. I got the title, ads across the top, latest news headlines over here. I can use a Chrome extension like Readability. And when I click that, I can take this article online, choose Read Now, and it will take this online article and it will convert it into a very clean, take all the ads away, and I'll be hyper-focused on the article itself. And look how clean it comes out. The text is larger. It's a very clean article. It's much easier to read, both on a Chromebook, a PC, a MacBook, but even, especially, I guess, if you want to share this with in K-12 space, it takes all the distractions away, right? It gives them a cleaner view into what they're looking at. So I think part of the online learning conversation is how do we empower learners to tailor and create their space the way that is most relevant and most academic, and this is certainly one way to do that. I keep mentioning these Chrome apps and extensions, and they come from the Chrome Web Store. So if you were just to search Chrome Web Store on a Chrome browser, you can go to the Web Store, and it's just like an app store, and you can search and bring in all of these plugins and all of these tools to make your, talk about the power of online learning. I can make my browser almost like this complete utility tool, like a Swiss Army knife of online tools and solutions, which is just wonderful. Pocket, I see someone's mentioning. Pocket's another great app and extension that you can use to read articles later. It's wonderful. Another one is called Clearly, and that comes from the folks at Evernote. So that's a wonderful one. A lot of cool solutions here. I know I just shared a lot of information, so I just want to take a second to pause here and see if anyone has any questions or if I can interact with anyone here. I think another powerful practice in online learning is making sure you address the audience. So I want to just kind of let anyone out there that has any comments, concerns, questions to ask them. So Pocket is, what is Pocket is a question here coming from Theodora. I hope I said that correctly. But Pocket is a tool that does excellent. Pocket's a tool that's an app for mobile devices. It's an app in the Chrome store, and it is something that lets you collect articles and basically kind of put them in a pocket for later use. So it's another powerful tool, especially when you're entering into a stage of research where you want to collect resources, save them, port them together, and have them there. So worth checking out for sure, Theodora. I would encourage you to do that. This is a video, pretty funny, about Hall & Oates, a famous band, and what they did about writing a song. So I'll let you look at that later. But all of these little icons on the left-hand side of these slides are active. So with Google Drive and the Google add-ons that you see here and Kaizena, you can click on those at any time to see those. But I want to do a quick demo for you of Google Drive and what some of these new features coming from us from Google do. So I'm going to screen share again. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to go to this WizIQ doc that I launched initially. So here I am, right, in a Google document. This just comes from Google Drive. Drive, of course, is the evolution of Google Docs. It still has all of the different productivity tools, spreadsheet, presentation, and so forth. But now it's also a storage location. So I'm going to go ahead and type in somebody, let's say Ben Franklin. So I'm in Philadelphia right now, or right outside Philadelphia in the United States. And Ben Franklin's the founding father, who's kind of a Philadelphia hero from early days in American colonial history. So I'm going to type Ben Franklin. And if I'm a student right now, and I want to highlight Ben Franklin, and I go to the Tools menu, and I choose Research in my Google Doc, what you'll notice is off to the right-hand side here, I get a research pane that pops out and provides me with a ton of information about Ben Franklin. Some famous quotes, some photographs, some from Google Image Search. But then Google is giving me results from Google Scholar, which is like a scholarly search engine. It's just at scholar.google.com. And they're pulling in this research material. So as I'm coming down, I can take a look at any of these. There's a good one from PBS or public television here in the United States. That might be a good one for me to take a look at. And maybe I want to link this text that I'm looking at right now to this particular web page. When I'm hovering on the option, I can click Insert Link. And if you look at my link now, it's active. So this link will point directly to this website and launch me there if I were to click on it. Wonderful, quick tool. Even better is if I hover on one of the options in the research pane, I'll see the Cite tool. If I click on Cite, watch what happens. Ben Franklin now isn't only hyperlinked, but it also has a superscript of 1, which means I can scroll to the bottom of this page and there's a footnote that directly cites that site, or excuse me, that website, and starts my footnotes running for me. And just a quick tool, great for research, great for pulling in and giving credit to authors at any time. I want to point out one other piece, well, a couple other pieces actually, here in a Google Doc. This new feature of Google Docs is wonderful. You can see Google Docs add-ons right here. When we're in the collaborative space, when I just did this edit, maybe I want to, have students or learners submit papers to me or research outlines in a Google Doc. Well, of course, I can instantly come in and start adding comments, right? So if I highlight the student and I hit comment, I can come in and leave a comment here saying, please revise or whatever it may be. And that's incredibly useful that I can do that. And the beauty here is that they don't have to email me an attachment that I then would download, edit, re-upload, attach, send back, and go through that real clunky editing process. If they add me as an editor, I just do this, and I start to leave comments for them that they can see directly in their document. What we're seeing now, though, through add-ons, is a more interactive, a more engaging and useful way. So if I go here to Get Add-ons, there's some really great tools coming to Google Drive. EasyBib will automatically generate a bibliography page. A thesaurus tool to find different terms and different words for varying word use, right? Mind mapping tool, Lucid Chart for diagramming. I can do all of this directly inside Google Docs now. It's the promise of Web 2.0 technology, where we can bring technology from the web directly to our fingertips and use it directly in our documents. The one I want to mention most importantly, though, is this Kaizena, which is just getting a lot of press right now. Kaizena, K-A-I-Z-E-N-A. And if I was to install that, I actually come into this document, highlight a patch of text, use my Kaizena add-on, and leave voice comments for the author and for the student. So I can quickly grab it, come in here, and if it was a 5-paragraph essay and I want to edit components or something like that, when I highlight it, I can leave that voice comment, advise the writer, move this to the beginning of your paragraph, move this to the end, move all this around, do all these types of things. And by leaving them voice comments, you can save yourself a lot of stress, a carpal tunnel syndrome, by not typing as much. It also gives them a little bit more media-rich feedback from you, where they can interpret voice and hear your tone and all of those pieces, which is wonderful. So add-ons, commenting, these collaborative writing tools that Drive give us, all are powerful ways to kind of engage the online learner and do these kind of things. So that's the piece I want to share from a writing perspective in Google Drive. I think the other piece about this is that it's anytime, anywhere access, right? So if I'm at a university working on this paper in a computer lab and I log out with my Google account, I leave the lab, I go home and I log onto a MacBook, or I'm at work and I have an iPad, I can get to this document and edit it at any time, at any point, on any platform. So the other beautiful thing about e-learning and also using Google as an e-learning tool is that we're becoming platform agnostic. It doesn't matter what platform you have. If I'm at a Google website like this right here, and I type something like banana versus cupcake, if I used that one yesterday, and I hit enter, the search results instantly come up for me and lets me explore which of my two options for lunch are better, right? So I can compare bananas and cupcakes and all their pieces. So data at our fingertips, right, which is great. If I come back to Google here and I let it load, I have, of course, voice search, and I can say on some devices when I have it installed, I can say, okay, Google, and it will instantly do the search for me. Or I can use voice search here and say, World Cup scores. So I'm not sure if you heard that or not. I'm hoping it came through a little bit, but it basically announced the games for me today and what's happening. So with voice search now and helping this kind of be a new tool, again, in the e-learning space, helping everyone understand that Google not only provides search results, but data at your fingertips. I can type in World Cup scores, or I could say it doesn't matter. The results will be the same. And then if I also choose the search by voice option, and maybe I want to say something like temperature in Philadelphia, I instantly get weather results, all this information at my fingertips, and this ties closely to the Google Now technology that we're seeing coming to the desktop now, but it's also been on Android devices, and if anyone here is using Android, which I'm sure there is, you're probably familiar with the Google Now technology and the Google Now toolset. So bringing the data to us, right? How do we help e-learners, how do we help blended learners become empowered around using the tools that they have? Collaborative writing, reading strategies, ways to connect and share content, and way to pull the web to us. If there's no more powerful practice than being able to leverage the web and save time and be more efficient and streamline all of our pieces, this is certainly one of them. This is a snapshot, so I talk about the idea of content in the online space, and I think for online instructors, it's really important to just realize and be confident and comfortable with the fact that, you know what, we don't own the content anymore. It doesn't matter what you know about content because content is free now. I can find out any information or knowledge online. In the face-to-face classroom, we call it the facilitator, trying to facilitate the classroom and not be a direct instructor anymore, right? Trying to help not be the knowledge delivery tool, facts and figures, but to be the creative inspiration in helping learners create, build, design, become proficient, and all of these other kind of executive functioning skills. This is a heat map. I think this is a couple years old now, but I found it online, and all of the bright areas are connectivity. And every year, in fact, I was trying to find an animation before I came on. I remembered it, but I wanted to share with this. But there's an animation that shows how the heat for connectivity is increasing every single year. And we're seeing the entire world get lit up now, which is incredibly powerful and exciting. And we see projects like Google Loon. If you didn't see Project Loon yet, I would encourage you to take a Google search for Project Loon, L-O-O-N, and how Google is trying to float balloons up high in the stratosphere that will broadcast Wi-Fi to everywhere, all over the world. Thousands of these balloons floating and beaming Wi-Fi and internet connectivity to people all over the world and making everyone hyper-connected. There's some conversation around droids and unmanned aircraft doing the same. I'm not sure how far that'll get, but we'll see. The point is, we're trying, right? And we're going for it. So if you also look, there's an article in the upper right-hand corner of this slide where each year for like the last 12 years, more and more college students are taking courses online. And in 2013, 7 million in the U.S. alone, 33% of all students took an online class. And I think the numbers of blended solutions are even higher, right? So 90+% of students are doing a blended space. So when content isn't the answer, and we're moving to more e-learning platforms and the power of e-learning, how do we make content accessible but then encourage students and learners to use the e-learning space for development, right? And that gets me a little bit back to that 20% conversation and helping inquiry be driven, helping discovery be part of what we do, and just overall making the world of e-learning more interactive, a richer experience, and bringing these tools to our learners and making sure that they have them at their fingertips. We talk about information literacy, right? We need globally competent, information literate folks. That needs to be an underlying principle of everything that we're doing in e-learning and blended learning, in my opinion. The idea that analysis and synthesis and interpretation, these skills are what we're looking at. This is a picture of a Google data center. That is one row of one Google data center. Everywhere you see a green light is a different server. So there's probably thousands just in this row. And there's multiple, there's dozens and dozens of rows, right? Look at that stat on this slide. IBM last summer estimated that every day we're creating 2.5 quintillion bytes of data. Quintillion. So that is the number that you see there in red. And that is so much information that from the summer of 2011 to the summer of 2013, 90% of all of the world's data, go back through all of human history, all of human publishing, the entire record of civilization, 90% of all the information was created in the last 2 years. It's staggering, it's frightening, it's exciting, and it's something that we need to keep in. The electric bills must be awful. That's outstanding, Sabrina. So the skills that we're giving, the skills that we're trying to create, the power of e-learning is that, data is there, knowledge is there. How do we connect? How do we collaborate? Google Hangouts, Google Docs, whatever it may be. But how do we pull minds together to access this information and then leverage it for growth, leverage it for new creations, for people to build new businesses, to create new solutions, and to do greater things, maybe cure cancer and feed the world, right? So that, for me, is what the power of e-learning is. That, for me, is what we have the potential to do now. It's also what the tool set like Google is bringing to us. So this is a wonderful, wonderful video. It may make some of you tear up. I'll let you watch it on your own, of course. But this is Seeds by Glass and the new Google Glass experience. So if you want to see a little bit more information about what's coming, what the Google teams are working on, and what those of us who are involved in the Google family and the Google EDU family in particular are trying to encourage, I think we're trying to help students create stories, right? And our job as educators at any level is to guide and grow genius. And I think this does a really nice summation of making that happen. So once again, here's that first slide again, links to these tools. I have a 20% time lesson plan that some of you may want to use and build out. Ways to connect to me on Google+, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and then also things like that Google EDU dashboard. So I'm going to stop there and wait and see if there's any questions or comments, or if anyone has anything they would like to ask or share. Oh, I see a few claps. Thank you, Brian. That was kind of you. Can we get those links in the chat? Yes. In fact, you know what? I will pull up that whole Google presentation because maybe it's hard for you to pull through there, Jack. I'm going to bring it up right now. There it is. It is a fascinating time in teaching. Great point. It's exciting, right? I mean, I think it's intimidating for some of us, but I think it's the job of all of us to kind of let everybody understand, it's small steps, but it's a wonderful time to be teaching, that's for sure. There's so much opportunity. There's so many ways to help guide that genius that we have in learners and kind of promote and be those kind of classroom artists, whether it's online or face-to-face or blended. I think every instructor, every teacher is an artist creating, wonderful new minds and wonderful new ideas. And it's just so exciting to have all of this at our fingertips. I agree. I would do this again and again. That's glad to hear. Anna, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Great work, Jason. We all know Jason's the man. Lots to learn still. Your presentation, great. I'm glad. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your feedback here.
Rich, thank you so much, man. Thank you very, very much for coming. It was really wonderful to have you.
You're welcome, Jason, and everyone else. Thanks for your feedback. Like I said, please reach out anytime.
I'll make sure everybody gets the links and can connect to you. And what I'm going to do, actually, I grabbed the video link. So after you leave, I'll just take a few minutes and play it in the media player. So much that Google's doing that if teachers just get a better handle on it, like you said, not to try to do everything and think you have to be a master at it, but just to figure out which pieces work for you and go from there.
That sounds great.
So what did you think about that? How was that video made? Are you all familiar with this bit of Google technology? Google Glass, yeah. It looks like we were there. Why? Pretty amazing, right? Pretty intense to think of a future where anybody can do that. And what will it mean to be there or be there? What is real and what is virtual? Yeah, and we know how much we learn visually. Think of the possibilities in education with not just Google Glass, but technology like this, where we can capture what our eyes see and share it so easily with other people. I mean, I would rather see anything almost done that way than a traditional lecture. Two ways I can watch what Rich is doing. One way I could be like, oh my goodness, it's just too much. I'm never going to be able to learn it all. But then I have to stop and realize the other part of me stops and says, wait, but do I have to learn it all? Aren't there things I'm doing just fine with as a teacher now? So then you take a breath and think, okay, let me look and see, maybe I like this one or like that one. You don't have to, check out everything or learn everything all at once. Technology is just getting easier for all of us to use, so don't let it be overwhelming. I'm glad you found it useful. We have many more presentations coming up. Bye, everybody. I'll end the class here. Bye-bye. TTO, here we go.